Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal's Raw Reaction Show. Looking back at the latest Arsenal fixture the morning after the night before, in which Arsenal were eliminated once again in one of the early stages of the FA Cup. Arsenal losing 2-0 at home against Liverpool. Very disappointing. Of course, I feel like I've said those words for the last however many weeks now, talking about games with Arsenal. I think winning one of their last, what is it, at least 5, 6, maybe 7 games. It has been a really, really poor run of fixtures. And a break now ensues. We don't play a game until for another couple of weeks before we play, of course, against Crystal Palace. But yeah, very disappointing indeed. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other things. I saw a comment before we started from Stephen Johnston who says, Tom, I've hit the like button before the show starts, as I do every single day, but sadly won't be watching because yesterday's loss is still too raw. Keep up the great work you do, my friend. And Stephen, thank you for the kind words and dropping a like, and I empathize with your frustration. It is it sucks right now. It really sucks right now. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about it objectively, as we always try our best to do. Now, as Arsenal couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, StreamYard couldn't keep track of who was first in the chat box once again. So sadly, we've lost track of that. So I'll be saying good morning to those that StreamYard has seemingly caught track of, which is old Dave and Matt G and Luke Shaw and Dave, another Dave, lots of Daves this morning. Martin, we've got who else in here? Dominic Raw, James Aditya, we've got Dominic Raw, and everyone's talking. That's the problem with the early point in the show. Everyone's names come up, blah, 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 blah. But by about 40 minutes after I've set up the show, everyone's in a conversation. So it's just back and forth. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is reading out people's receipts. But good morning to those. I can still see people tuning in as we go live. That helps. Chanel, Dan, good lads, Aaron, Rowan, Fahim, Kim, Mr. Rob, Jason, Ernest Ace, Deo, or Dao. Rather, thank you everyone for tuning in and joining me, especially on these days where it is not the easiest to do so. If you could still drop a like, it would be very much appreciated. It is, as I say, a really dour period for the Gunners, and it makes sense that less people are enthralled by this club. But we endeavour to try and bring you objective, grounded analysis of what's going on around Arsenal and take things as, trust me, as seriously as we really can. We kick off, of course, by looking back at the overall picture. And Arsenal losing 2-0 against Liverpool knocks us out of a competition that we have not got past the fourth round of for the past 3 seasons. Really, really frustrating. Arsenal was likely to score, I say there, as Emile Smith Rowe is to start, it seems. And the lineup in yesterday's game was basically what I wanted. I can't have too many complaints about the lineup at all, really. We played Havertz up top, which is what I wanted to see. We played someone other than Martinelli at left wing, which we saw, which was Reiss Nelson, who I'll come on to specifically in a little bit. And of course, Saka and the best back four that we could have played on the day. Kivior, of course, playing, scoring that own goal sucks, yes, but we had no other players. Again, I do and would like to bring up the fact that Zinchenko, I felt, was missed. And I think that extra progression would have really helped us in this game, but sadly not available. Another injury hurting us. And before the game, we learned that Gabriel Jesus would not be available for us because of a small knee injury. Now, I wouldn't have started him and I would have had him coming off the bench, of course, but it's a frustration for Arsenal that they've had to deal with once again. 18 shots, 5 on target, 55% possession, and nothing to show for it. Really was disappointing. Odegaard hitting the bar in a chance in which he should have scored. Havertz, of course, latching onto that mistake, setting the ball back. Yes, there's suggestions that he could have laid it back to Saka. I think it would have been difficult to spot him and execute that, but the pass to Odegaard was fine and he should score in that moment. Reiss Nelson, of course, going through from a fantastic pass from Aaron Ramsdale in the opening moments, who we will also come on to more specifically shortly, should score. Kai Havertz with that header from the corner. He is without a doubt, a player that should be scoring from that position. And we should have scored from a number of other positions. Bukayo Saka really just can't find his feet and his form at the moment either. And it is incredibly frustrating to see so many opportunities because, to be fair, I have not seen a team dominate that Liverpool side like we did in the first 45 minutes. And if you dominate a side like Liverpool, as good as Liverpool are, then you cannot afford to not take chances. I said this during the game at Anfield. I said this leading up to this game. Liverpool are too good to miss your chances against. Too good. And I have not seen teams dominate that Liverpool side like we did in those first 45 minutes. The second half was much more even. I think Liverpool maybe slightly edged it in the end, of course, with getting the goals that they did. If you play as well as you do in those first 45, but cannot execute anything in the final third, then you don't deserve to win the game. And ultimately, we didn't deserve to win the game because despite all the chances we created, we couldn't take them. But we deserved far, far more than ultimately what we saw on the day. Bukayo Saka is playing with an injury. It is an Achilles problem that has been revealed over the last, I think, week, and it's really coming to the fore, and I think is showing itself. The question mark I have, if he's not fit, then if Gabriel Martinelli is, for instance, fit and is just out of form, I think it's important that we start having a conversation about playing the players that are at their full fitness. Bukayo Saka isn't at this stage. Neither is Ben White. The difference with Ben White is that I don't think that we have the depth to be able to take him out at the moment. Now, Saka needs to be managed in the next week, over the next couple of weeks, I think, because, of course, we've got this opportunity to go abroad. The guys are going off to Dubai. Some are traveling today. Some are traveling tomorrow. Some are traveling. No, I think everyone will be in Dubai by Tuesday, to my understanding. So there's a chance now for Saka to try and rest up and recover from this problem that has been plaguing him. And that, I think, has been evident. It really is evident that we are seeing, I think, the toll of these past 18 months on this squad that is thinning because of the injuries that we have faced overall in the squad, and it sucks. Now, it'd be wrong of me not to bring up, of course, that Liverpool missed players as well. They had no Szoboszlai, they had no Endo, they had no Salah, of course, Van Dijk, of course, as well, not there on the day. But we didn't take advantage of that. We didn't exploit those shortcomings of theirs, despite playing really well in the first half, and again, not taking the chances that we created. An honest assessment of Kai Havertz. We will focus in on those misses. We will focus in on those missed chances. I thought that what we saw from that centre forward was an encouraging showcase of the movement that I think has been missing in the last two games. But what we didn't see was the clinical and cutthroat and ruthlessness that a centre forward needs in the final third. And there were times, I think, especially in the second half, where when he received the ball, it was a little bit too negative. And you can't help but be frustrated that this is a team that is crying out for a elite level striker. And if Arsenal had Erling Haaland, if Arsenal had a Mohamed Salah, these types of absolute elite players in their forward line, what we demonstrate on the field with the chances that we create, the level of chances that we create, then we would have very, very comfortably, I think, been at least 2 or 3 goals up in that first half. And that is the difference between us and Liverpool right now, is that we lack someone at the elite level in that forward line to put away. I think Saka, for me, is a world-class player, but for me, my tier system of what is world-class is very, very different. And you have the elite players at the very, very top, and they're your Salahs and your Haalands and your Messis back in the day, of course, as well, still now, arguably. And then you have that rank underneath it, which is your world classes and players that I think can reach that elite level like Saka can. But right now he was playing with that injury and is out of form. The movement was far better. Like what we saw from centre forward yesterday was much, much better than what we saw in the West Ham game from Jesus, and much, much better than what we saw from Nketiah in the Fulham game. LB says, you said a few weeks ago we don't need a striker. This is a load of waffle. I've said for a long, long time that we need an elite level forward. I've said for quite some time that we can't bring one in during this window. So if you want to misquote me, feel free, but you're the ones ending up looking like fools. Moving into Reiss Nelson. He should have started the game. I said I wanted to see Emil Smith-Rowe start, but actually Reiss Nelson proved me wrong. He should have started the game. I thought he was energetic. I thought he was lively. I thought he showed something that we've not seen on that left-hand side for quite a while. I had the pleasure of speaking to him after the game as well, and you'll see some of those quotes coming out a little bit later on today, and you'll get some of his thoughts on the game and where he's at and this Dubai trip as well. So look out for those on football.london around midday. But yeah, I thought that Reiss Nelson was showing encouragement. The chance in the first few moments of the game. Yes, I think he should maybe be a little bit more composed when he takes around Allison. The touch is a bit heavy, and when he does go far wide, he then goes for the shot. And I think maybe we need to be a little bit more composed and find the position that we've find a player to slot in. Magambo should have. He did start again. It's the justification. He should have started. So those that felt that he shouldn't have, this is the argument that he should have. And he proved that he should have started by the fact that in his first start for quite some time, he did very, very well. Aaron Ramsdale also impressed. In fact, he impressed so much in this game with his saves, his distribution, and his contribution that it only brought me further frustration, to be honest. It brought me frustration that he's not been given more opportunities. He's not played the Champions League games. Because for me, whilst I haven't looked at David Raya in the last few games and thought, he's a problem, because against Fulham, I didn't think he could do much more than he did other than being better with his distribution. Same for West Ham, saved a penalty in that game. It's really worthy of praise. But I can't help but see that performance yesterday and think, we have just created an unnecessary situation at goalkeeper. Like that was a performance of a player against Liverpool side that are very good, that create very good chances. He stayed composed up until the final moments. He didn't have much to do really throughout the majority of the game at all. And when it came to the crunch of making that save on that right hand side, we had to get down low and push the ball around the post. He did that because he'd remained. And do you remember those comments where he said like he couldn't stay focused for 90 minutes because in reality it's very difficult for players to do that, and so he comes up with strategies to stay focused for as long as possible. And do you remember how some really sad Arsenal fans use that to just belittle the guy when actually it's just an offhanded comment? Well, in this game where he didn't have much to do throughout the majority of it, when it actually came to the crunch and he had to make a very big save that he could reach because the own goal, no goalkeeper saving that, and Diaz's finish is excellent. But when it came to a moment where he kept Arsenal in it, and frankly, in those moments where Arsenal should have been 1, 2, even 3 goals up by that point, he made a really, really critical save. And I just don't know why we've created this problem for ourselves. And it's a criticism I have of that goalkeeping decision to bring Raya in. We don't need to activate the buy clause in Raya's deal. We have a very good goalkeeper. And if we're going to buy a goalkeeper in the future, I would like to see that goalkeeper be significantly better than Ramsdale, which Raya isn't. And so I like Raya. I think he's a good goalkeeper. This is not me slamming Raya. It is me criticizing this situation that we have needlessly created for ourselves. And I just can't. I can get my head around the reason why. It's because, as Dave says in the chat, that Arteta has always wanted Raya, same as our goalkeeping coach Iñaki Kena. And that desire to want a specific player has, I think, sadly, upset the balance and upset the something about the squad. Ramsdale is a very likable character. He is loved by his teammates and he's appreciated by his teammates. And I would not be surprised if there was feelings of, what's the right word? Question. If there were question marks within the group itself, that's I wouldn't be surprised. So a real shame, but I wanted to take the second to say props to Aaron Ramsdale. I also had the absolute honour of seeing Ramsdale walk through the mix zone with his newborn, and a massive congratulations to Aaron Ramsdale and their family for what is a glimmer of positivity and what I'm sure has been a very, very difficult season for them. Fortune favours anyone but Arsenal. Now, I know people don't like me talking about the element of luck in things, but there is also something to do with this. Like the own goal that we conceded, it's just so frustrating because at that point I'm thinking, right, this is going to a replay and we'll have another game where we can't score. And Obviously, the free kick comes in, Kivior heads it. I've seen some attempts at analysis of his defending in this. You could argue it's just bad luck. Like it's just bad luck. He tries to get his head on it. We've seen so many players sadly score some really poor own goals, and it is bad luck. But it shouldn't even be. It shouldn't even be a thing. It should not even be a thing. We should have been winning by this point. It shouldn't have mattered. It should not have mattered. And then obviously we overcommit because we're trying to find the equalizer, and naturally we then concede on the break. It was, it was inevitable that if we weren't going to take some of our chances, that it was probably going to end up, it was more likely to end up 2-0 than it was 1-1 at that point, because we were always going to overcommit trying to find the equalizer, and that was going to leave us vulnerable on the break, and it was, and it did, and sadly that was. But I think we saw, and I can see it in the chat box. Where is it? Let me find the comment. I spotted it. Where is it? Where is the comment? Young Carlos. Here comes the XG talk. And look, I am going to talk about XG. I am going to talk about XG with Arsenal because there was a fantastic stat that was going around. That Arsenal have scored 1 goal from 61 shots and 6.47 XG in our last 3 games. Meanwhile, our opponents have scored 6 goals from 2.5 XG in our last 3 games. And it's a stat that is really worth talking about. I know some people, I shouldn't say all people, some people don't like, and that comes from PB at Ollie Price Bates on Twitter. I know some people don't like me talking about XG. I get it. But it's a really revealing statistic about the lack of finishing, and also about the fact that our opponents are delivering us a very, very clear message about what we need. And that is clinical finishing and taking chances that we need to make sure. I still find it weird that there's Manchester United fans trying to have a voice in the chat box and be a little bit, what's the word? Bateful. Look at your club. It's in absolute mire. Mikel Arteta answer to transfers. I'll end the first part of the show before we go to part 2, and probably some of your thoughts. I might even put the StreamYard link in for a few people to join us. I've seen some pretty disparaging comments about me, which is fine. You're entitled to do that, but at least back it up by coming on the show. I think that Mikel Arteta's comments regarding transfers, he was asked about Arsenal's chances of signing a striker, to which he said that we need to get behind the team, get behind the players. Let me try and find the specific quote, if you will. He says, on whether Jesus' injury and lack of goals have changed the mindset on transfers, he says, one thing is what we need, is one thing is what we can do as well. And what we need to do now is stay behind those players, give them support, love, train them, and make sure they visualize something very different to what is actually happening right now. They've done it. We're not going to invent or reinvent the wheel, because they have done it. And this is what I've been saying for quite some time. Arsenal scored 88 goals in the Premier League last season. They have done it. This team has done it. We've only lost from the starting 11 Granit Xhaka. That doesn't disappear overnight. Yes, some things have changed. Yes, we've lost some key players like Thomas Partey from the team, who was playing a lot last season. Yes, we could have improved if Urian Timber was available. Yes, Gabriel Jesus is missing yet again. But we know that this team is capable of scoring huge amounts of goals, and it's not. And we need to try and find the reason as to why that has changed from the things that we can control. We can't change the way that other teams play differently to what we did maybe last season. What we can control is our own confidence, our own finishing ability. And so for that reason, I think we need to find ourselves in a situation that sees us in building momentum again. We've got games against Crystal Palace, we've got a game against Nottingham Forest, and by using those games, we can build momentum going back into a very critically important game against a Liverpool team that if we win that game, it changes the entire complexion of the season. But if we cannot win our next 3 games, the title race, question marks about Arsenal's title ambitions are in a very, 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 very different state. And so I cannot stress enough. But people getting annoyed at Arteta's answers to transfers, I don't know what you expect. I don't know what you expect, because I've told you time after time that Arteta wants a striker. He would love to sign a striker. He would love to sign a centre forward that takes us to the next level. But we can't do that during this window. It is why we would see in the summer, I hope, I pray, the investment to be able to do that, because we'll have more financial freedom in the summer than we do now to be able to go out and try and get that key striker. He has not once said that he doesn't want to do that. He was asked a question in a post-match interview with beIN Sport, and he was asked about signing a striker, and he says he doesn't think that's realistic. He didn't ever say he didn't want one. He said he doesn't think that it's realistic because he and the club know of the restrictions that we have because of the profit and sustainability rules. Now, the question mark is on the Havertz deal. And I am more than willing to talk about the Havertz situation. We lost Granit Xhaka in the summer. We needed to go out and sign a player. It's also, I thought about this last night from those that turn around about, the people out there that go, well, Unai Emery wanted Wilfried Zaha, and he ended up getting Nicolas Pepe. I'll leave you with this as we leave part one. Think about who Mikel Arteta wanted and got Kai Havertz, but that no one talks about that. Let's go to part two and your questions right after this. Okay, we're going to go part two. We're going to start off with some silly comments from Max, who says, I called this guy deluded for not thinking we need a striker and he couldn't accept it. Watch him backtrack. Max, where are you? I've called for people like yourself to come on the show time after time after time. You're not here. I'll even leave, if you want, and please don't call in if you agree with me. I'm not in the mood for being vindicated. I'm in the mood for people to come and tell me why I'm wrong. Come and tell me why I'm wrong. The link is to join this show in the chat box. It is right there. You can come and do it. Please only join if you think I'm wrong. Don't come on if you think I'm right, because I appreciate it, but I really want to hear from people that think I'm wrong about a specific thing. If you think I'm wrong about something, come and tell me the link is there. Otherwise, we are going to go and you have to be over the age of 18. You have to be in a quiet place to record. You have to have a stable camera. But other than that, please do come on as well. You'll need a camera and to be over the age of 18 if you want to come on. We've got about half an hour to 40 minutes for me to come and have a chat with those people. I will happily speak to you. You'll need to be on camera, of course, to be able to come on to the show. Maximir says, Tom, where do we go from here? As a club, I see so much of the negativity all around. I wonder how these fans would have stuck around with the Arsenal in the 70s or the early 80s. Without a doubt, Maximir, the expectation levels have risen this season. We are, in some degrees, a victim of our own overachievement from last season, because no one thought we would challenge for a title. No one thought that Arteta would put us into a position where we would compete with Man City, and that's what we did last season. And so this season, the expectation has changed. The expectation has gone to a position whereby now we find ourselves competing, and expectations are that we must, for some, win the title or bust. That is not a legitimate reality to find yourselves in with this club. Arsenal are a team that are still behind Manchester City and are on a level with Liverpool, who last season, of course, underperformed. And that has changed people's mindsets about Liverpool. It changed my mindset about Liverpool as well. And that is ultimately what I think is changed this season, is that we have seen the difference between expectations and reality. Let's bring Anthony onto the call. Anthony, tell me why I'm wrong, mate. What am I wrong about? Oh, hold on. I can't even hear you for some reason. That's because I haven't even got the volume on. So let me change that briefly. The listeners will be able to hear you. So you could be slagging me off real big time right now. Here we go. I can hear you now, I think.
No, I'm not going to slag you off. Morning, Tom. Hope you're well. I don't know where we go from here.
I do. We put the ball in the net. That's where we go from.
Yeah, I know, but it's, as we had our last conversation when I was last on here, the dynamics of the midfield have changed. But we dominated Liverpool yesterday. We should have scored. Nelson. I don't know what he was thinking, trying to go around the keeper. He should have chipped the keeper when Ramsdale gave him that ball. Havertz had opportunities. Saka's had opportunity, and I'm just like, last season we were in harmony. This season there's a civil war between Arsenal fans. The majority of people want Arteta out. People want him to stay.
You said the majority of people are Arteta out, did you say?
Yeah, if you look on social media now, there is a
civil war. I wouldn't go by that.
No, I know, but
the majority of social media might be, but reality will be very different.
Reality is, and it's I've been saying it that whatever's happening with this club, it needs to be sorted, because when we come back and play Crystal Palace again, that's going to be a hard game. That's not going to be easy. Look how many times they've beaten us at Emirates, or we've drawn against them. You know, Spurs, they're doing their thing, even though, we were literally writing them off previously. Look at them now. They're only a point behind us. We could be fifth come, by the end of the month. That's how, we've dropped. Last season, all Arsenal fans are in harmony. This season is just like, something's gone wrong. Arteta needs to change something. Is the buy going to change that? Players' mentality, they come back. Hopefully, Partey should be back. Hope.
Can I ask you, Anthony?
Yeah.
Obviously, as I've mentioned before, we scored 88 Premier League goals last season with the
Yeah.
players we have.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Arteta specifically has done to change us into a team that doesn't finish as well? Or if you point the finger, what is it? Because if you're saying the majority of social media and Arsenal fans online think that Arteta should go, he must therefore be responsible for why we can't finish. Because we're creating, as we saw yesterday, plenty of chances. We had 30 shots against West Ham, 77 touches, didn't score a single one in that game. So what is it that he is doing that has stopped us from scoring goals?
I think it's the defence at the back that's a bit more solid, even though we have been leaking in goals, but also the control in the midfield. I think that over, possession, about controlling in the midfield, has taken our Arsenal up front. If you listen to his press conference the other day, when he was asked about that, do you need a striker, he said, he wants the goals to be shared. So that is a big issue in itself. He wants what happened last season, but he's now controlling that midfield even more, having Declan Rice there, having Havertz, having Odegaard. That's the situation now. And I've said it numerous occasions on social media. Because he wants that control and the defence is more solid, we have sacrificed what we had up top last season. It's evident. People don't want to understand that that's what he's going for now. He wants to suffocate the midfield, for them to crack under 60, 70 minutes. That's what he's going for now. And it's evident. Last season, it was different. We had a number 8 in spaces that we never thought that he would be. He is now gone, which is in my opinion, and this is just myself, people could agree, disagree. I think we should have got a number 8. If you wanted to replicate what you did last season, should have got a number 8 instead of getting a number 10. Because, we've lost 2 key players in that midfield, Thomas Partey as well as Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
They were the 2 midfield who, spared us forward. Thomas Partey with his line-breaking passes, he could do things that Declan Rice can't do in terms of he can play those risky passes to the strikers. We do not have that now in Declan Rice. Yes, his ball progression going forward is great, but if you look at him and Thomas Partey does stuff that Declan Rice cannot do in terms of playing those risky passes into the striker. So now we are now controlling the midfield, dominating in midfield, and ultimately it's sacrifice us trying to score. Possibly it could be
sacrifice trying to score.
Yeah.
We had the chances to win the game yesterday. But if it was like the Fulham game, you take the Fulham game in like closed analysis, that game we did not create the chances to score. But throughout the season, we've had many games that we've not won that we should have by what we created and didn't take. This is like people say we have too many touches in the box. We overpass certain situations, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But we are still in big games or in even littler games that we're not winning, creating the chances to score. And the reason why we create those chances is Arteta's philosophy. It is just not being finished off. And as I said at the end of the first section, Kai Havertz gets talked about a lot. And I know, Anthony, you would have heard this line about Unai Emery that he wanted Wilfried Zaha and he didn't get him, he got Pepe. And that is something like Emery wasn't backed or whatever. And it's something that's always used as some kind of like Schadenfreude again for Emery. In reality, Havertz was not Arteta's first choice. Do you remember at the start of the window who was his first choice for who he wanted? He did move in the window. He went somewhere else. And he's not been fit for most of this season, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it was Mason Mount.
It was Mason Mount. So
Yeah, it was.
Arsenal and Arteta actually wanted somebody else, and
Yeah.
when that target went somewhere else, they ended up going and getting Kai Havertz. So, do you feel like that's going to be the sword that he ends up falling on? Then the Kai Havertz sword.
It's hard to say. Havertz. He has games that he's done well, and yesterday, he could have taken his chances. Obviously, he didn't. It's like he reverted back to the old habits in regards to playing it safe. And I'm just like, bro, you have scored goals. You're starting to prove some of the doubters wrong. However, something has to change going over to the bar. Like, if we don't get any players in, I think that, we're out of 2 domestic competitions already. If we continue playing like this, I feel the Champions League. I think that Porto will get done by Porto. I'm sorry to say, if we do
Well, if
not
you don't score goals, you don't win games.
exactly, there you go. And
Yeah.
I said it yesterday. I put out to you. I said, this is what happens when you don't finish your chances. It's pathetic. West Ham, again, we dominated them, even though we went 1-0 down. The amount of chances that I see that we had, we should have won that game. We didn't. Arteta needs to change something, because if he's not going to change something, there's going to be a massive uproar. I think even in this window, I think everyone is now come to the realization that they're not going to sell players. Eddie, as much as he has been a good striker, I would sell him, bring someone else in, because it's going to be a situation that we finished second, which was a blueprint for you to carry on. And it's like, we are not. It's hard to say if we're improving or not, but the table doesn't lie. We were still first at this point last season. We are now a point behind Spurs, and we could be out of the top 4 come the end of the month. It is something has to give going forward. So, like I said, we just have to wait and see. I'm going to give it till the end of the January transfer and see what happens if we do get someone in or not. Left back is still a situation I think that we need cover. Obviously, Kieran Tierney doesn't want to come back, so left back situation, we do need cover, because unfortunately Kivi was playing into a position where he's not comfortable in. Personally, I would have reverted back to a back 3, 5, and have 5 in the middle, like we did a couple of seasons ago. But something has to give going forward. He needs to change something, because you cannot have that much possession. It's all good creating chances, but this is a results business at the end of the day. You need to start putting the ball in the back of the net. We can't go through. These next games are winnable. And I said it yesterday, regardless of the fact of how easy it was, when no Van Dijk, no Salah, no Enzo, no Szoboszlai, we should have won that game. And what did we do? We made it harder for ourselves, didn't take our chances.
We created the chances to win the game, though, Anthony, didn't we?
Exactly. We created the chances, but we got punished because we did not finish those chances. And we always have to make things harder for ourselves as Arsenal players. I don't know why that is. Kill off the game, create the chances, put them in the back of the net. Stop fluffing them, not because it's frustrating. The last 3 games are frustrating. 3 back-to-back defeats. It is frustrating. It's all good we creating chances, but if we're not putting them in the back of the net, what's the point? What is the actual point? It doesn't make sense.
But do you see what I mean when I'm saying about with them? And Anthony, I'll just quickly to divert. The reason why we've not moved on to a next caller is because there isn't one. So, I'm happy to continue this conversation. I say in the chat box, and fair play for you showing up. And I don't even think you really vehemently disagree with too much of what I think anyway, which is fine. But people in the chat box that are very keen on saying you're talking waffle XYZ. We are doing the literal opposite of censoring and silencing here. We are offering you an opportunity to come on and have your say and tell me why you think what we've said throughout the show is wrong. You're not showing up. I can't do anything about that. But Anthony, the finger pointing at Arteta, I'll reiterate this question again. We have created chances to win games and we're not taking them. So how does Arteta become the guy in the crosshairs? Because it's his philosophy that's seeing those chances created.
Yeah.
You can say we don't have an answer. That's fine as well.
At this present moment, I don't have an answer for it. He has to. He's getting the stick because this is his team. This is his team. Everyone's his team, barring some of the players that he's re-signed. This is his philosophy. His philosophy has changed from since last season, because last season It was more of the inverted on the left, and we got found out. Now it's you're suffocating the midfield, but you need to change up, and this is where Arsenal fans are just like, which is rightly so. You know, I think that he doesn't have another strategy. You know, he's talking about all the 40 or different systems that they play, but we've only seen one for the last couple of games. You haven't changed, you know, changing something up, either playing two up top or something different. Do something different. You know, you wait until they scored to put Eddie on. Again, reactionary, not proactive. Try something different. Okay, Kai Havertz didn't work for 45 minutes. And half time, or even half time, bring him off, put Eddie up front. Try something different, or even put Trossard up front. You know, some of the changes that I saw, Saka was poor yesterday, but you take off Reiss Nelson. Why?
Again, I don't know why he took off Reiss Nelson. I think that's a fair criticism.
Exactly. There you go. You took off Reiss Nelson. Even though Reiss Nelson missed the shots, he looked lively on that left side.
He looked better than Saka.
Yeah, exactly. Switching to the right, take off Saka. But again, it's all the hypocrisy that he talks about. No one's position is safe, but yet you're keeping on Saka, who's been, he hasn't, been in good form for the last couple of games. You want to hook off Ramsdale, who arguably, yes, he made mistakes, but that was one of his best seasons that he had last season to keep us in, in touching distance in terms of trying to win the league. Is like, he's got a lot to answer for this season. If we don't win anything and we regress, then obviously uncomfortable conversations need to be had about him. Can he take us forward? But like I said, he has to be held accountable for this going forward, because again, the FA Cup, how many times have we gone on the FA Cup wearing that white kit? I think it's 3 seasons?
Well, to be fair, we progressed past Oxford wearing it, but we've lost 2 out of 3 times. I don't want to get bogged down in the white kit, because I think it's a little, I always think it's a little silly. But Anthony, I really appreciate jumping on. We got a couple more callers now, so I'm going to jump to them. But Anthony, I really appreciate you taking the front to come on, and always a pleasure to speak with you.
Cheers. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, mate. Massive appreciation to Anthony. Let's bring Chris in, who I hope is ready to jump on. How you doing, Chris? You all right, mate?
Hey up, mate. You all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Relax
good
now.
Stuff, man. What am I wrong about? Tell me. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Oh, I can't hear you. You've gone all quiet. Why have you got maybe your hands on the microphone?
Oh, it's my silly new phone.
Okay, don't worry about it. There you go.
I'm glad to see you changing your mind on Ramsdale.
To be fair, I've always said that Raya I thought was a slightly better keeper, and I still think that Raya overall is slightly better. The issue with Ramsdale for me is that we created a scenario that we didn't need to create. That's where I'm at with that. But go on.
Well, where I'm at with that though is we had the best goalkeeper, Martinez, and we've had how many goalkeepers since him?
Leno, right. Ramsdale, Raya. 3, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had Turner come in, who obviously was rubbish. Yeah. We had Matt Ryan for a while.
Yeah, that was kind of a stopgap, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 5 goalkeepers, isn't it? And yet we let the best one go out of all of them. Who's now a World Cup.
I think it's debatable actually between Ramsdale and Martinez. Personally, I think that Ramsdale is on a par with Martinez, but
really,
yeah.
I mean, there's that. Kiwi, whatever you call him, the summer fruit boy, Kiwi. Another rubbish game for him, I thought, and not just the own goal.
Playing his position, to be fair to him, but yeah, weren't great.
Bukayo Saka, why do we keep playing him? I don't know. Reiss Nelson played well.
One of the best players in the world, I guess.
Not one of the best players in the world. He's just overrated by our fans,
really?
I think. Yeah,
it is one of his poorest seasons. He's nearly got 20 goal contributions.
Nearly. It's not got it, has he?
What?
I don't like.
What do you mean? This January, he's had one of his poorest seasons. He's nearly got 20 goal contributions.
In the summer, if we got a massive bid for him, I'd sell him.
Yeah. How much is a massive bid? What does it take you to sell Bukayo Saka, Chris?
I want over 100 million for sure.
Right.
Well over 100 million for him.
Okay.
But I'd even sell Martinelli.
Okay.
I love Martinelli. He's my favourite player, actually.
Who are you buying to replace Saka and Martinelli?
Well, for me, Jesus could go on the right wing.
Right,
he could.
So we're replacing Saka with Jesus.
And get
a
who
are we replacing Martinelli with?
Well, I know I've said it before on the thing. I like the lad at AC Milan. I've seen him a few times, but I can't say his name. I like him. Yeah, I just can't get his name right. But
not for the first
time. I can't spell him. I can't say him. I do like him. He's very good.
Okay.
But I'd also be interested in changing a bit of formation as well.
And you've covered your microphone again.
This money that we could get free for them two, if we never will sell them, but if we did, I'd go to Spain and I would hammer on a door for Aletti. I think it's Aletti for Llorente.
Oh, Marcus Llorente.
I would hammer on a door for him.
Right.
Because him and
our front three is going to be, well, at the moment we haven't got a striker talked about yet. So Llorente and Leao over Saka and Martinelli. And I guess Jesus. Are you signing a striker?
Yeah, I've got to sign a striker.
Who are you signing as a striker?
Well, the dream will never happen. It's obviously Mbappe. Never happen.
Never happened, yeah.
But there's a lad at Inter Milan, called Lautaro. He is brilliant.
He is good. Yeah, he's also someone I've suggested on the show before.
I mean, you could change your...
He's never leaving Inter Milan, which doesn't help. So
yeah, but if you throw money at people, they change their mind.
Maybe we throw money at him and see if that works. Yeah, but
change their mind.
None of what I've seen there, though. Like, I understand the frustrations, Chris, and they're saying that we should sign X, Y, Z, which now is not going to happen. But what is Arteta doing that is stopping us from scoring? Because from my perspective, we created 30 shooting opportunities against West Ham, 77 touches, didn't score. We created, I think, something like 18 shots yesterday, 5 on target, didn't score. 3 of those at least were, in my opinion, nailed on must-score opportunities. What is Arteta not doing that is stopping us from scoring goals?
Well, I'd like to know who the striking coach actually is.
Well, you've got... You've got the Tekas Guru, who we appointed this summer as the attacking, offensive coach.
Right.
I don't know if we have like a goal-scoring coach per se.
No. Where is? I know it won't happen. Where is he in right now? Because he used to be MK Dons.
Right.
We need an actual righty. He used to be there.
Ian Wright. So you're suggesting we bring Ian Wright in as the attacking coach?
Just be bringing a decent striker that actually knows that's played the game and done it as attacking coach, because we're still playing Wenger ball at the minute.
But I get that. But just because you were a great striker doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. I mean, look at Thierry Henry. He's categorically been pretty poor at coaching.
But we can at least get someone in that will actually tell them shoot on target, stop this ticky-tacky rubbish. Shoot on target. I mean, Reiss Nelson.
If player to shoot on target, it doesn't mean they're going to shoot on target. Like, if anyone watches the training videos, we see video after video of our guys banging the ball in the back of the net when the pressure is completely off. It's when the pressure is on in these games that they're not finishing their chances. I don't think that's to do with Arteta, personally, because Arteta's philosophy is creating loads of shooting opportunities. The way in which we build up play, creating against the team at the top of the table in the league, we created 3 must-score chances using our own philosophy. We didn't put them away. I can't ask Arteta to go onto the field himself and kick the ball in the back of the net because his coaching, his directiveness is getting these chances. We're not scoring them. So that's why I'm frustrated with that.
Thing is is it Arteta's philosophy or is it Pep's that he just doesn't know anything other than Pep?
Well, if it was Pep, we'd be winning the treble. Like,
we've got a BTEC Pep. He just doesn't know his own thing. He only knows what Pep did at Man City.
So who are you replacing Arteta with?
The big question is this, isn't it?
Well, you kind of got to have an answer, really, because if you want to get rid of Arteta, you've kind of got to have an answer. So
the only manager available who I think isn't managing at the minute anyway, and he has been a Champions League winner, is Jesus. Zidane.
Is who?
Zidane.
Zidane. Okay.
He's the only one available at the minute.
The thing with Zidane is, look, he's won the Champions League however many times now with Real Madrid. you know, and I think that management period that he had with Real Madrid is, I think, how many years now? I think 4 or 5 years ago. He's not had a job since. And you have to ask the question, why? And you have to ask then the question, is he even available? Is he taking managerial jobs at the moment? We don't know. Is he waiting for the French job? And I don't know if it's going to work. He also worked at a club in Real Madrid that A, he played at, B, he was the youth coach at, knew the club inside and out, went straight into it, and obviously had an amazing Galactico side to win Champions Leagues and La Ligas with. But it's
do you remember? Do you and other people remember that the Liverpool manager they've got a minute Klopp?
Yeah.
For years was meant to be coming to us, but Wenger wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
We missed something there, didn't we?
Sure, we didn't. I said for a long time that Wenger stayed on too long and we should have replaced him sooner. But I mean, that is a whole entire, different talking point. But Chris, I appreciate you jumping on the show and giving your thoughts. I've got a couple more callers to get to.
Yeah, the baby's crying off.
It's probably a good timing then. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, Chris. Let's bring Suru into the conversation. I hope you pronounced that correctly, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Tell me why I'm wrong, mate. Tell me what I'm wrong about.
All right. For me, the game yesterday, I believe that he should have taken Havertz out. After 65, 70 minutes, should have taken him out. For me, leave Reiss Nelson on the pitch. Just put Martinelli up front. Put Martinelli up front. That would have been better. You stretch them backward, so at least they know they have to defend. For me, that is where he got it all wrong yesterday. That is where he got it all wrong, yeah. And apart from that, there is nothing more that coach could do. I believe, for me personally, I think Arteta has been crying for a striker. But he can't say it in the media. He can't say it. There's no way he's going to come out.
Arteta actually wants one and has been saying he wants one.
But he can't say it publicly. He knows he can't get a striker.
Yeah, I mean, he was asked, wasn't he, after the game, and he said it's not realistic. That's what he said when he was asked, which basically means I want one, but we can't sign one.
Yeah, we can't sign one. Yeah, and he can't sell. You can't if you say sell Nketiah, you can't sell Nketiah for 20 million. Who are you going to sign with 20 million?
No one that's better than Jesus, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's like we're going all back. So I think for me, he just have to go back to the drawing board. Probably get a new tactical coaching or maybe like a striking coach, something else. There's still time to get that. This is we're in the transfer season. You can get someone in to help your attackers find the back of the net. Even if it means getting some players from the youth team, integrate them in, even if it's one or two, you might find that gem, that player that could, lift the team up again. That is all it takes.
I wish we had a striker in the youth team that could. Like, that's the thing that the youth team is really actually lacking. Like, we've got some great midfield talent in Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly. Yeah. We've got some really good defensive talents in Walters and Souza, but we actually don't have a centre forward youth option.
What about that guy? The guy from is it from Motherwell that came back?
Sorry?
The guy that
came
back.
Mika Birev, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, who could try him? He could be better than Nketiah.
Try him, yeah.
No, that is the thing. That was how they found Harry Kane. Nobody knew he was good. You have to try somebody. You just have to try. Chuck him in there. You could find him banging the goals, and all of a sudden, everybody is going to get feed up from that energy of him scoring. Because if Jesus is not scoring, Nketiah is not scoring, that actually seeps down to the team. Because they are not scoring, so everybody's going to wait for Saka and Martinelli. So he has to go back and get somebody from the youth team. Just try something. Just be inventive. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't really matter. You just have to try something. Because he's been playing it safe.
I have to ask you the question, Suru. I have to ask you the question. Which title-winning team has gone into their youth side in the middle of a season when they're on a little bit of a problem and found someone that's changed their season around and turned their season around? Is there any examples we can think of?
There is none I can think at the top of my head.
And I think there's probably a reason for that,
That's Ben. Yeah. The inexperience, I know. But there's nothing he can do. That is the only option he has now. The club can spend
well, no,
money.
It's not the only option, sir. Actually, and the reason why it's not the only option is the other option is to obviously stick. That is the other option. The option is you don't go and experiment, but you take a step back and say, okay, we're in this really poor patch of form, but what we're not doing, other than one-off-ish game against Fulham, is that what we're not doing is struggling to create chances. We're creating chances. We are making chances. Like, as I said before, the shots we had against West Ham, the chances we had against Liverpool, even against Aston Villa, we should have scored in that game against Aston Villa. Martinelli had a great chance.
Like five goals. 5 goals ought to be in. 5 goals.
Exactly.
Basically.
Like, so all these games that we've dropped points in, we should be doing better and we should be scoring. So Arteta's system, Arteta's philosophy, what he's trying to do is creating these match-winning situations, and his players aren't taking them. Which is why I can't get on the side of the people that are saying Arteta's not good enough, Arteta's deluded or whatever. I'm deluded or whatever. People's favourite word.
Tom, let me ask you this question. Do you think it would be okay if the club decides to get this player from Roma, Paulo Dybala?
£10 million, apparently.
Yeah. It's not a bad shout anyways. At this point, it's not a bad shout.
Hey, look, if you told me that Paulo Dybala was coming in tomorrow for 10 million quid on an 18-month contract, I'd be like, okay, let's see if that can do it, But I don't think they will. But, and I also don't think that is I don't think that Paulo Dybala suddenly turns Arsenal into a team that is better than Man City. Because that's what we need to do to win the title. That is what people are saying, sir. People are saying if Arteta doesn't win the league or if he doesn't win the Champions League, we have to ask serious questions about where we are as a team.
I'm going to put it out there. Even the club and the Pep, they're not going to win the title with this team. That is just the reality. You can't win a title with this current team.
Why is Arteta being judged with that being the expectation?
He's a victim of his own success.
Yes, absolutely.
He's just a victim of his own success. It's just like a kid coming up first in class every time. And the next time you're second or third, your parents are going to be like, "Oh, what have you been doing? Have you been sleeping?" But I believe the club has to look for a way to get him a striker. They have to look for a way, even if it's by loan, by commitment of obligation to buy. They have to do it. They don't just have to believe that he has to change everything. The owners are there. I don't know what they are doing in the US. They have to come down and get this man a striker. The team needs a striker. The coach needs a striker. Like, there is not... I keep saying it. Like, no one is going to tell me that in January that Mikel Arteta sat down there and be like, I don't want a striker. How many players did we sign in January? How many attackers did we sign? Just one.
How many strikers has Arteta signed? He signed Jesus. I'm struggling now.
That's it. Yeah. He wants it. I believe he wants a striker. But I think the club
he had Lacazette and Aubameyang for the first 2 seasons he was here, right?
Oh, so those guys are rubbish.
If you come into a club and you've got Lacazette and Aubameyang, until you move those players on, you can't then bring in a striker. So as soon as they left, he spent £45 million on a centre forward in Jesus. The following summer, which is this summer that we've just had, we lost Xhaka and we needed a midfielder. We went and got that in Declan Rice. The crux of the summer that is going to be talked about for this summer, coming in the next summer maybe, is Kai Havertz. That is what is going to be talked about. And look, there is a debate to be had there. There is a talk to be had there, for sure. But as I have said at the start of the show, for the same people that say that Unai Emery wasn't back because he didn't get the player that he wanted, just remember that if you have that energy for Unai Emery and that argument, you've got to apply that same energy that Mikel Arteta's first choice was not Kai Havertz.
It wasn't Kai Havertz. I believe it wasn't Kai Havertz. I believe he wanted a striker. I believe he wanted another midfielder apart from Declan Rice.
Yeah,
he just can't get everything. So what do? He has a team that is riddled with injuries. Saka is injured, whether we like it or not. He's not even running anymore. Saka is not running. He's not running. He's injured. He's carrying something. Ben White is carrying something. I wouldn't even be shocked if Saliba is carrying something.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why they're looking for a defender, for a right-sided defender.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Sir, I've got some other callers, but I really appreciate you jumping on. And
cheers, man.
We didn't really disagree, but I appreciate you jumping on,
There's
man.
nothing to disagree here. There's nothing to disagree. Anyone who is trying to disagree, I feel they're just trying to create content. If you're disagreeing and you're just trying to create
I love
content,
but I'm not in that line of work for that type of content. But I've tried. I've really tried. Thanks,
really
mate.
tried.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Speak to you soon. Cheers, Suru, for coming on. Much appreciated. Remember, if you want to come on, you need to have a camera. I can see there are a couple of people that don't have cameras down below, and you need to have a light on so we can actually see you. Let's get Evgeny in now. How you doing, mate? You good? You well? Can you see me?
Hello, Tom. Yes, I can see you. Can you hear me?
Good stuff. Tell me, if you think, why I'm wrong.
The one thing that I could particularly charge against you is the use of the stats of David Raya from last season, in which he were superior, like by the measure of 8% in the percentage of shots saved.
Was it 8%
for Brentford? Something like that, maybe 6%.
I didn't use that stat, to be fair.
I think you referred. You were one.
I absolutely said that he was slightly better statistically, but I didn't come up with like a percentage. I just said, he's slightly better. But sure. But what I would say to that, Evgeny, is that David Raya isn't the reason we're not scoring our goals, though, is he? So what is it? What is it about Arteta that is stopping us scoring more goals?
I think we are taking too many touches before trying to take a shot on goal.
Yeah.
And we are also, it was in that patch starting with Aston Villa, I think, when I started to notice that we are spending too much time on one side of the pitch with the ball before transferring it to the other side. Sometimes the ball transitions from the left to the right, and Ødegaard starts to dither on the ball and spin around, maybe to look and find someone to pass to, and it gives time the position to set in defense better. So that's probably one of the things that prevents us scoring.
You could argue that we're taking too long for opportunities, for sure. But again, 30 shots against West Ham, 77 touches, 18 shots against Liverpool, 5 on target, 3 really big must-score opportunities that we created through his system, didn't score. So we're creating the opportunities. So even though I think I agree with you that we're being too slow, we need more urgency, we need more speed, but we are still creating match-winning opportunities that are not being taken. And if they are taken, we're having a very, very different conversation, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. Quite so. But it's not just.
So why is it him that's being kind of like lambasted and saying, if he doesn't win the league, it's his fault? We have to sack him, get rid of him. How does, let's use a hypothetical. Ancelotti, right? Arguably one of the world's best managers. Ancelotti is in the place of Arteta. Why are we scoring the chances with him that we're creating now that Arteta has got us creating if he's in charge rather than the manager we have now?
Your first caller was talking about suffocating Anthony, about suffocating the midfield and all that stuff that is more possession oriented rather than contributing to our attacking fluidity and chance creation. I just think if it were whoever, it were someone else, some other coach, for instance Ancelotti, it would have been a different system in the first place. But with this system, I think we could have just be playing a little bit differently with these same players that Arteta had last season, at more incisive football, playing with more focus on playing forward rather than controlling the ball in midfield, and sometimes we are just passing back quite a lot. When our wingers get the ball, sometimes they just have too many people in front of them and don't have much space, and we reset too many times instead of just using the space that we had last season due to our more incisive play. That's what I think.
I think that we could be better. And I've said that with the urgency and the speed, I think we could be better. But the problem that I don't think we've had an answer to is that we haven't got an answer to what Arteta needs to do differently to be able to see the chances that we are creating, not the chances we aren't creating, the chances that we are creating on a frequent basis, and see them hit the back of the net. The only thing that I've had so far is that we need to sign a striker. I don't disagree with that. But what I do realise is that we can't sign a striker in this window, and that is going to wait until the summer. And I don't think signing a Dybala or a Garassi or someone saw in the chat box signing Mauro Icardi on loan. I don't know why even Galatasaray would agree to that. I don't see how doing any of those things turns Arsenal suddenly from a side that is just below the level of Man City, well, not even just below, but just below the level of Man City, into a team that suddenly wins the title. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I understand. And I quite agree with you, because I don't think it's just a matter of one man up front. I think it's more than that. It's more of a systemic issue than one man up top. Also, Tom, I've been just researching the internet a little. For Charlie Patino, he has a recall clause according to Sport, and it's also been reported that Juventus have been eyeing a transfer for him with a figure of up to £30 million or euros in January.
Yeah, I don't know if that's real, by the way, but I've seen the report you're talking about. What I would say is that Patino has got to agree to come back, even if we have a recall clause. We have to come to an agreement with the player that that's the right move. And I don't know if he would, because he knows he's playing every single week, every single game at Swansea at the moment. And also in the summer, he was wanting to look for a permanent exit. So it's not necessarily in his mindset to return. B, is Charlie Patino going to change Arsenal into a title-winning team just coming in January? This is the thing. I have absolutely no problem with the suggestion, and I think it's a fair suggestion to say if we've got an option to bring someone back, sure. But what we're talking about is people saying that if Arteta doesn't win us the league or the Champions League this season, he deserves to go. And I'm trying to find an explanation as to why that makes any sense at all.
The one kind of apparent argument for that is that he consciously changed our system and went away, in a sense, from the way we were playing last season. Also bringing Raya in, creating that problem with Ramsdale, that goalkeeping issue. It's been costing us points in several games. You could recall the Chelsea game, the Newcastle game, where there were Raya's mistakes that have cost us quite a solid amount of points, at least 4 points. And it might have been one of the reasons why we have lost some of the balance that we had last season, though not through some direct impact, but through some indirect impact.
Yeah, I think that in the end, I think you make some really fair points about what we could still do and what we could improve. The issue for me is that what we're raising and what some people are suggesting are not turning us into title-winning teams this season. I'm not arresting the problems that are there at the moment, and that's the issue I've kind of got, if that makes sense. But Jenny, I really appreciate you. First of all, am I pronouncing that correctly? Tell me if I am or not.
It's almost correct, Evgeny.
Tell me, correct me. I'm not embarrassed to be wrong. Go on.
Evgeny is my original Russian name, but another option is just Eugene. It's also cool.
Okay, that is much easier. But I appreciate that. I really appreciate you telling me I was wrong about that as well. It's just always important for me to try and get people's names right. But Eugene, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. there was someone coming on, but as soon as I said that they needed to put their camera on, they disappeared. So that probably tells you what you need to know about them. Rob Bob joins us now. How you doing, Rob?
Not too bad, mate. How you going?
I wish I was as relaxed as you look, mate. I really do.
Well, I've had a bit of a full-on day. My dog's got cancer, so it's been.
I'm so sorry to hear that, man. I really am.
Nights, the last few nights. So,
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry to hear that, mate. Well,
I'm not feeling chilled, but I might be
bigger things in this world other than Arsenal, doesn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. I'm obviously in New Zealand, and I was up with the dog anyway, so I watched the game live at kind of 5 a.m. or whatever, and yeah, I was disappointed. Obviously, I'd love for Arsenal to win, but as you say, there's more important things in life, eh? So
yeah, for sure. So I'm going to put this out there, Rob. I don't think you think I'm wrong, but tell me where your head's at.
I mean, I think I didn't catch the beginning of the show, unfortunately. So I think we're probably singing. It's
more. I guess I'll put the statement to you again. People saying that Arteta is the key reason why we're not finishing our chances, and I don't think that he is. So,
no. Well, Arteta's not in the box or part of the front four, is he? He's not the one that's got the goals in his sights, and he's not taking the shots, or he's missing. I don't know. I don't know. I think you and I, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners, look at the stats and go, that was it. We played well for 70 minutes. I mean, to be honest, for the whole game, I would say we played well. We created loads of chances, and we just the front players just could not put them away. And at the end of the day, I mean, obviously football is on the basis of putting the ball in the net, right? So, that's what the end result is. But, we could play that game. Let's say we played that game against Liverpool in a similar way 10 times. How many times are we winning that match? I reckon we're winning that 7 or 8 times.
6 months ago. Maybe I felt like we could have played for another 5 years and not scored if we were in our current state. But I know exactly what you mean. Like, if we score those chances, and it's a big what if, if we scored, it's. But the reality is that there's nothing for me. Yes, we could be quicker, have more urgency, etc., etc. Why is it that people are attaching these missed chances to specifically Arteta? Do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't get it. So I think you're probably asking the wrong person. I think that there's a massive thing within the fan base of just trying to find blame. We don't like what we see. We want to be winning matches, of course, but we want to single someone out and scapegoat them. And I think in this match, it's a combination of Havertz and Arteta. And I mean, sure, Havertz had some really good chances and he didn't put them away. And I get that, like he should have done better. But also, Arteta wouldn't be playing him as a striker if Jesus was there. It's kind of like, how can you blame a player that, I think he's come out in the press previously of saying that he doesn't think that his best position is as a striker. I don't think he wanted to play that position in Chelsea. I don't think he came to Arsenal to play that position. I think Arteta's been forced into playing him in that position because Jesus is injured. And I think
I wanted him to play at centre forward. I said that on the preview show. I want him there because I think his best role is getting him into the box. I think that we looked better with him out of that number 8 role that he was in. The question mark I have about Havertz is I don't know where he fits into this current system, because I think his best position is playing off of a number 9, but close to them, so they're in the box, like a centre forward when you have like the striker and the centre forward, a little bit like Bergkamp Henry's situation, where you had Bergkamp playing off of Henry in some ways. But I think
the difficulty
Havertz,
is,
go on.
Well, the difficulty is Jesus isn't that kind of striker, right?
No,
he's not the type. No.
You have to ask the question: why did we sign Havertz if we don't have a place for him?
Well, I mean, I put this in my little notes before I came on. Like, I feel like Havertz again has been a bit slated because, I mean, from my understanding, Xhaka, he wanted to leave. He felt when it looked very likely. I mean, I know that he left before Reiss was signed, but I think it was like Reiss was basically being signed. Xhaka probably felt like he wasn't going to get guaranteed game time. I guess he wanted to go back to Germany. I don't know exactly all the details of it with his family and but I feel like
something in Xhaka wanted to go. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think Xhaka wanted to go, and Reiss was, he's not an obvious swap. Arteta always talked to Xhaka about like getting into the box more. And, it was only really in the final season and a half that he actually kind of got the story right. And I feel like Arteta looked at Havertz and went, okay, Xhaka's going. Havertz is kind of, what I want from a midfielder to, good defensively, get about, taller than Xhaka, so there's an extra bonus because we can put, when there's a low block, we can put balls into the box, and we've got, good header. He's coming late.
You wanted something different, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted something different, and I think that
a lot of money on getting something different. That's the thing. 65 million pounds.
Yes, I mean, to be honest, I quite like Havertz as a player, and I think he's been unfairly slated, but I would say that one of the reasons he's being slated, again, not fair on him, but we needed a striker more than we needed to spend, 65 million on a midfielder when we'd already spent 105 on Reiss. I don't think there's any Arsenal fan that's not thought that we need a striker for the last 2 seasons. I think it's been obvious that we need that. Nketiah isn't up to the level. I mean, how long was he on yesterday? And
not very long. I mean, that's the Nketiah thing. Is like, why didn't we bring on Nketiah for Havertz sooner? I'm sorry, I don't buy that argument because at the end of the day, people have been moaning about Nketiah for time, especially as a substitute as well. One goal
he didn't do anything, right?
Oh, he didn't. He didn't do anything.
No,
go on.
I didn't, I was listening to the commentary. I hardly even heard his name being called.
No, he didn't. I don't remember anything that he did, honestly, in the game. And Rob, I'm going to have to move because I'm conscious of time. I'm going to move quickly on to the next caller. But just to finish off this section, like, if Arteta finishes like I don't expect us to be, close to Man City come May. Personally, I think that there will be a gap this season. I still expect us to get top 4 minimum. And I hope that we can do something special in the Champions League, and it's kind of a wild card tournament, so we'll see. But what are your expectations now, and what you think are fair expectations of the manager just before you go?
Well, I mean, I said this, asked a question in the comment section last night in your show of like, where are we in this 5-stage plan that Arteta and the Kroenkes and Edu have got? And obviously we don't know, like only Arteta knows, but I reckon who knows where we are and even what the plan is, but we're definitely a season, if not 2 seasons ahead of where I think we would have been expected. We look at when Arteta took over from 3 years ago. What fan, realistically, if every fan that's complaining about Arteta now looks back 3 years ago at what a mess Arsenal were in.
They would have dreamed we'd be having debates about, Arsenal aren't winning the title this season.
Exactly. So for them to be complaining, I think if we get top 4 and make a good chase in the Champions League, I'll be happy, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I'd be sad because we came so close last year. But I think being realistic, get to the summer, you know, hopefully there's not so many financial constraints on us, and get a striker, get some competition for Saka and Martinelli, and get our injured players back. You know, like what a difference those, you know, Partey's not playing, Jesus hardly been playing, Timber, what, you know, started one game and then's out for the rest of the season. You know, I know it's kind of what could have been and like we can all dream, right? But I don't know. I think to be slating Arteta for where he's got us in 3 seasons, it was madness. And if we changed him, you know, we'd just go backwards for at least two or 3 seasons afterwards, when whoever we got in started rebuilding with their plan, however many stages that's got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That is the thing. Rob, I really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Enjoy the show, and have a good evening. Ciao.
You too. Cheers, Rob. Much appreciate your time. Let's bring Muns into the conversation now. How you doing, Muns?
I'm good. How are you, Tom?
Not bad. Not bad, considering. Bit tired, but not bad. Tell me why I'm wrong, mate.
I wouldn't say you're wrong, but I'm just not happy with this process. It's gone, 4 full seasons of Arteta?
3.5.
Yeah.
Well, this will be the 4th full season, I think.
The 4th full season. And he's just binned all the trophies. And that's what's frustrating, which I don't quite understand why he's done this. We've got the Carabao Cup, FA Cups. He's just binned all the trophies. So I know you ask everyone, well, if we get rid of him, who do we get? Well, we can get the Girona manager. Look where he is at the moment. We've got the Leicester City manager coming up. So these are managers we can potentially get.
You're going to have to educate me here. Who is the Girona manager?
I don't know his full name.
You don't know who he is?
I don't know his full name, but he is actually doing really well. Considering the opposition, we've got Real Madrid and all these teams up there, and he's first in the table. So, so there are managers available. And if Arteta goes, that's not the end of the world. We've got rid of Wenger, who did more for us than what Arteta's other one FA Cup trophy. It's not good enough. We're Arsenal. We should be challenging for the Premier League. We don't have a given right to win it.
Would you take Unai Emery? Would you take Unai Emery?
I would have taken Unai Emery. The problem with Unai Emery is the board didn't back him. He asked for Partey. They gave him Torreira. That's not his fault.
Zonzi, and he got Torreira.
And he asked for a couple of players. He asked for Wilfred Zaha. He never got Wilfred Zaha. He got Pepe instead. So that wasn't his fault.
Madrid and got Trossard. Arteta asked Rafinha and got some. I don't think we got anyone actually. He also asked for Lisandro Martinez and we got Zinchenko. So has Arteta not been backed either?
Arteta has been backed, but I think
what if he's not getting the players he's asked for? Like you say, Emery didn't get backed for not getting the players that he asked for.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't get the players that he asked for. But what I'm saying with Arteta, he's got the funds, he's got the backing. But say one example, Havertz. He's got Havertz, and he's not done anything for us. We could have got Kudos instead.
He didn't get anything. Havertz hasn't done anything for us.
Okay, let's take yesterday's game. He didn't score any goals. He didn't get any assists.
Neither did Saka. Should he go as well?
Saka, I would give Saka one more season because I don't think, it's just not working. Or we should move Saka into the middle.
What?
None of our attacking is working, so it's either come to a point where Arteta has to go, or all the players, and you can't get rid of all the players.
Saka has 19. Sorry, Saka has 21. If you count the Community Shield, we will take that out. He has 20 goal contributions this season. It's January. Last season, Saka got 26 goal contributions. The season before that, he got 19 goal contributions. That was as a 20-year-old. But you'd give him one more season.
Yeah, because I think with Saka, he needs a competition. Nelson is not a competition for Saka.
Right, but because a player needs competition, it doesn't mean that you give them one more season. That's if you're saying you give them one more season, and your reason why is because he's not had competition. Do you see why that doesn't really add up?
Yeah, I understand, but he's not performed in the last few games. So as other people, like the other players as well.
It doesn't mean you sell him.
But he's a sellable asset. So unless we're going to do the Ainsley thing where we just throw money and let him go for free because that's what we did.
I'll buy into it. We're selling Saka. Okay, I'm not even going to give him another season. You know what? I'm going to sell him this summer. We got 100 million for Saka. Who are you replacing Saka with? That's going to change just on that right hand side.
For Saka, we can get Rafinha instead.
So you'd replace Bukayo Saka with Rafinha at Barcelona?
Yeah.
Do you know how many goals Rafinha has got this season for Barcelona?
I haven't checked the goal stats for
3.
Rafinha.
3 in La Liga and 1 in the Copa del Rey. In 19 games, he has 4 goals.
That's not good as well. So we'd have we'd have to get Saka, but we'd have to do something in terms of the attacking because I know that Arteta's been back, but he's only signed 1 striker throughout his tenure with us. So that's not good.
He had Aubameyang and Lacazette for 2 of them.
Yeah, but he didn't bring them in.
No, but he had them.
Lacazette was there already.
Yeah, but you're not going to sign a striker when you've got those 2, are you?
No, what I'm saying is he's only bought Jesus, and Jesus is sort of a left.
That was only last summer. That was only the summer in 2023. Sorry, 2022. So it was the summer before this season. Rather, if you think of it, so the summer before this season being 2023 summer this season. 2022 was a summer of last season. This season, we'd signed Jesus, we'd renewed Nketiah because we knew that we weren't going to be able to replace it with the money that we wanted to spend on other positions like Reiss and Havertz. Havertz is the one. Like Havertz, I don't have a qualm with people's concerns with Havertz because I think it's a fair debate. I think it's a fair concern. But what I have a problem with is suggestions that Arteta is the crux of the issue of why we're not scoring when we're clearly creating loads of chances that aren't being taken. The issue I've got is suggestions that we should sell Martinelli and Saka. Like, you're not the only one who said that today, Munz. I'm not focusing in on you specifically. Yeah. Chris came in earlier and said that we should think about selling Martinelli and Saka, replacing them with Leao and I can't remember the other one. But do you not feel like I think that what you've shown is the reactionary nature of where we are? Because a few weeks ago, before the Aston Villa game, we were top. We've had 5 games. We've had a poor run. And we're now in a situation where fans like yourself, man, are saying we should sell Saka. Do you not think that's a bit reactionary?
I would say it's a bit reactionary, but the only problem I have is we're looking at solutions, and obviously he's got no money now, FFP and everything going on. So we need to do something. I mean, we can't go with
sell Nelson, sell Ram. If you're not going to use Ramsdale, sell him and bring the money in that way.
Yeah, we've got ESR he's not using, which I don't know why. He can play in the middle, he can play on the wing, and he's not using, which is so frustrating because
when was the last good performance you can remember of Smith Rowe?
Chelsea game last season.
Was that the home game or the away game?
I think it was the away game where he scored, and Bukayo scored as well.
Yes, I will find that. So we're going back, I think, a considerable number of performances to that. I like Smith Rowe. I think he's a good player. But again, I don't think he didn't play in the home game against Chelsea. He didn't play in the Chelsea game. He didn't play in either Chelsea game last season, actually. He was injured for one and on the bench for the other one. Are we going back to the Boxing Day game when he came on?
I think it was, when he came on.
He scored in the 4-2 win at Chelsea in 2022 when we won 4-2 and Saka scored the penalty at the end of the game. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So we have to go back to April 2022 for Smith Rowe's last top performance that we can remember. And that is the player that we're looking at and saying, why is he not playing? Look, I agree in this sense. I think he deserves more minutes. I'm not going to debate that. But I can't have an argument from the side of things to say Arteta's doing something wrong by not playing Smith Rowe when the last time that we can reference as a memorable contribution from Smith Rowe was April 2022. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's not had the minutes or the opportunity. So again, that's not his fault. That's Arteta not choosing him.
He hasn't had as many minutes as I would like.
Yeah,
sure, but he has had minutes in games.
But he came on for 2 minutes yesterday.
He should have been brought on earlier. Again, I think he deserves more minutes, but I just don't think that Arteta's management of Smith Rowe is a crux that means that if we manage Smith Rowe better, we'd be in a vastly better position than we are now.
No, but there's the opportunity that he's trying something. Like I said, Arteta doesn't have a plan B, so this is the plan B without spending money. But he's not utilizing the plan B. He can put Martinelli in the middle. He's not doing that.
Martinelli's form has been pretty dire this season, to be fair.
Yeah, but
as well.
Martinelli's problem is he doesn't lift his head. So if you're not going to lift your head, just go in the middle and shoot.
Okay.
Because that's the solution.
I don't think. Well, I mean, it's a theory. I wouldn't call it a solution because then we're saying it is without a doubt going to be what solves our problems. Smith putting Martinelli in the middle. I'm up for trying it, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it turns Arsenal into a team that suddenly beats Liverpool and City to the title this season. I think that for me, we don't have that solution this season. I think that had we had Timber, had we had Partey like we did Partey missed like 5 or 6 games last season in the Premier League. It was his best season of availability. Had we had that this season, had Timber been available, I think we would be seeing a very different Arsenal this season. But we don't have that. And that sucks. We've also been having White with an injury issue that he's been carrying, Saka with an injury issue that he's been carrying. We lost Martinelli, we lost Trossard, we've lost Vieira, we've lost Smith Rowe, as you mentioned, for parts of this season. We've lost Zinchenko in key points. Even Saka we lost for the Man City game and we still won it. Ødegaard we had with a concussion and a hip problem throughout this season. You know, we've lost lots of players. I think there are mistakes we can point to, but I don't think there is enough for outrage about Arteta.
But we've been in the process 4 years. Well, coming to 4 years, so we do need to be challenging. And the fact that he's throwing all these cups, like with Man City or Liverpool, I don't understand where's the arrogance he come from.
What arrogance?
This Carabao Cup, FA Cup, we've not won anything since he's won and got the job.
Right.
Since that point, he's just dashed all the cups in the bin. So if he was winning,
could he not?
Depending on the players available, yes. Yeah, that's the players we had available.
How has he thrown the FA Cup? How is that arrogant? How what we saw yesterday was arrogance? Explain to me that.
So not yesterday, because yesterday we had to go in with what we had. There was no alternative option. We didn't have, because Jesus was available, and that's that. We couldn't do anything more other than the finishing. But again, who's at fault for that? It's got to come down to the training or something's not right there. In terms of, I think last season, I think we went out with Nottingham.
No, I think we went out with Man City.
Man City. I don't know what happened there. Man City again. We should have played a full strength team. So yeah,
that's probably a reason.
Yeah.
You know. Look, I think there are criticisms of the lineup for the Man City game last season. We talked about he started holding, I think, in that game. I don't know if Saliba was available or not. I can't remember that enough about the game, but I do know it was Man City.
We bought Kivio as well. I mean, we could have bought a more established centre back last season when we had a good run. I mean, we'll bought Trossard.
You say we should have signed a more established centre back. Who's going to come in and play, knowing that they've got Gabriel and Saliba? Like, how for 20 million quid? What centre back are you signing that gets us more than that?
I don't know, but there would have been some. There would have been some in the market.
I've got, Muns, is that like I have a lot of energy from critics and whatever saying X, Y, Z, but when I ask for solutions, the solutions that we've got so far are selling Saka for Rafinha, bringing in Michel, who is the manager of Girona, who's never won a major trophy in his entire career, but is doing very well at the moment for Girona. Bringing Smith Rowe on, putting Martinelli at centre forward. I'm not seeing these arguments as enough to convince me that what I've been saying is wrong. Is that fair?
No, it's fair because it's your opinion, but I just think that being with Arsenal how we are a big club. We should be going for the Premier League. It's coming to 20 years. We can't wait another 20 years.
Let's finish on this question then, because I think that's a fair point to finish. What about Arsenal, and you can say anything about the club, said to you they don't have an ambition to try and win the league this season?
Where's the players coming out and saying what is your ambition, saying finishing top 4? That is the mentality. A lot of the players, Ramsdale.
Ramsdale's not playing. It can't be in this season. He said that, surely.
I'm sure it was either this season or last season. I think it was last season when we were in contention to winning the Premier League, and that's what they asked them. And that's what they said. They said, "Oh, we need to finish top 4 and win a trophy." But we were going for the title last season.
Right, let me have a look. So in September of 2022, so that was a month into last season. He said the dressing room targets have been sort of left alone. The cliche is one game at a time, but it's a new experience for a lot of us playing in Europe. And personally, I think we can be a big priority to us to try and win the Europa League. I don't see why we can't. It's a trophy. It's European football. We came close to the top 4 last year. That should be a given and a trophy along the way. So Ramsdale has said that the aim is to win a trophy and to get into the top 4. That was in September of last season when we were a month into the campaign.
We didn't win any trophies. That's the problem.
Well,
last season, we didn't win anything.
You've said
we finished top 4.
You said the ambition isn't there for Arsenal to win a trophy, and you said Ramsdale said this, and then I found the quote, and Ramsdale said the ambition is to win a trophy, and then you said we didn't win a trophy.
The ambition was to win, but we didn't win. We should have won the Premier League title. We didn't win that either.
Right. But I said to you, when you said the ambition of this club should be to win the league, I said, what have you seen that tells me that the club doesn't have an ambition to win the league? You told me Aaron Ramsdale's quote from last season, but Aaron Ramsdale's quote from last season was, we want to win a trophy and top 4 should be a given, is what he said. Not that's our aim. He said top 4 should be a given.
Yeah, I just think we need to be able more perspective regarding where we need to get at least winning cups. And I don't understand why we're not winning any of these cups.
He said that. That's what he said. Like Ramsdale has said, we need to be looking at winning trophies. But you said that that's not what he said.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we didn't go out and do the business. We didn't win anything last season. We were out of all the cups.
But I haven't got I've got an issue if Arsenal, if the team that wins the tournaments is Man City winning a treble, that's what Arsenal are aiming towards. We got knocked out by Man City in the FA Cup. I can come to terms with that. We got knocked out by Liverpool in this year's FA Cup. I can come to terms with that, even though the fact that I think we should have won the game by the chances we created.
Yeah.
We got knocked out by West Ham in this year's League Cup. Annoying, frustrating. Don't like that. We should be beating West Ham. Last season, Europa League, we got knocked out by Sporting. Should be beating Sporting. There are tangible things I can be frustrated about, and there are things that I don't think there is reasons to be frustrated about. And I don't think Arsenal, this is me saying what you have said, saying that Arsenal are a club that for you aren't showing ambition, and then referencing a player's quote that turns out they did say they wanted to win a trophy and that top 4 should be a given, I think reveals actually that maybe things aren't as you perceive them to be.
It may well be, but again, we should be winning trophies.
Coming on, but I've got another caller. But I appreciate you having the front and the respect to come on the show and be respectful as well. I appreciate that, so thank you.
No worries, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Muns. Appreciate Muns for coming on. Please show him plenty of love in the chat box. Let's bring on what probably is going to be our last caller, and a good friend of mine actually is Tom Rosenhammer. How you doing, Tom? You good? You well, mate?
Yeah, doing very well. How are you, Tom?
Not bad. Well, I've been better. It must be silly o'clock where you are, mustn't it?
It is silly o'clock, yeah. And I stayed up way too late because the cable channel HBO had a Sopranos marathon, and I kept watching, and I decided I'm just gonna call in to work. And then also I saw that you were live, and I saw the topics, and then and I'm not gonna challenge you, even though we could first.
I love being
challenged. I mean, yeah, and we've already done it on Twitter, but for these purposes, I still believe that ESR is a better player than Reiss Nelson. For me, the Reiss Nelson yesterday, what his performance for me was encapsulated when he took a dive, he flopped, and when he went down, he did the Busquets thing where he looked at the ref immediately, and there was a lot of that on both sides. And that's an entire different conversation. But I didn't like how he did that and just kind of trying to I don't want to say cheating, but to do things other than win on merit,
right?
And that really bothered me. And
look, if you think your players dived, you're all right to be annoyed about that. I actually don't remember that situation. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I personally don't remember that happening. But I was sitting from an angle that was different, so I may have missed it.
So yeah, who knows? You know, the U.S. broadcast may be different than.
No, I was there, so from
oh,
where
okay,
I was, yeah.
So to go back to the original topic, I'm a huge ESR fan. I'm a fan of anyone from the Hale end.
Sure.
And,
other than Reiss Nelson. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does have. He scored in Germany. I remember when he was at Hoffenheim, and he had some goals there. And then we all said, you know, he's got potential. You know, this kid's got potential. And you know, to go to a foreign country and achieve things. I just think honestly that he is just trading on that goal against Bournemouth. He had that goal against Bournemouth, and then I think Arteta is just going to the well one too many times and thinking he'll do it again, he'll do it again, he'll do it again. And I think if I'm I don't want to say a gambler, but if I'm investing in someone, I would rather have ESR in that position. And I know ESR is meant to go down the middle, but I think he can do a job from the wing. He's very
my
direct.
previous show, I put him in my team on the left. You know, so I was with you before the game. Like I put Smith Rowe as my starting left winger for this game. However, I liked Reiss's performance. I thought it was energetic. I thought he offered the pace that we've been lacking. I thought Martinelli being benched and coming on, he looked better than I think he looked in previous games when he came off the bench yesterday. But the thing with Smith Rowe is that in the opportunities that he has had, which are minimal, like we can all agree are minimal, we have to go back, I think, a long, long way. Like the Sheffield United game, I think he started that.
Yeah, he had an assist in that match.
He did have an assist in that, but I mean, you know,
right. You or I could have had an assist in that one.
It's the overall performance I'm kind of looking at. You know, we think about Raya against West Ham. He pulled off a penalty. No one talks about that. And it was a 5-0 win. And Smith Rowe, yes, got an assist. But I think it was an assist which he laid off Nketiah from about 35 yards, who then spanked it in the top left-hand corner, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the overall display. And I don't think that Smith Rowe has done enough that makes me think, yes, we've missed him, but that thinks that he is the crux that turns us into a title-winning side. Do you know what I mean?
I hear that. However, what did you think? I thought he was pretty good against Fulham. He had that shot on goal. It wasn't delivered with the most power, but it was as good as anyone had done that day. And I admire that he's always a positive player. He's always going forward. I think he's not one to get out there and deliver back passes. Now, when I say that, though, I'm convinced that the principal reason that Arteta doesn't play him is ESR doesn't do windows. He doesn't defend very well. He doesn't like to track back. I think he's what people consider a luxury player. He likes to collect the ball in the front third and just do his business there. And that if someone gets the ball off of him and then attacks the other end, then I don't want to say he can't be bothered, but he's not like Declan Rice, who's going to track that person down, get the ball back, and distribute it back into an attacking player. That's been my biggest criticism of ESR. It's that, and then also, I don't think he's the best passer in the world. I know he's meant to be a number 10, but if you are a defender who is marking ESR, you know he's minded to shoot the ball most of the time. He's not convinced anyone that he can slip someone in the way Trossard can, or the way that Martin Odegaard or even Bukayo Saka. I mean, so many of our players can deliver these quick passes, and that is ESR's biggest opportunity. And I'm a huge fan of his. And I think he really has that capability because he's got all these other guys that he trains with and etc. And it doesn't take much, you know. Obviously, he's Hale End and come up in the system. He just needs to develop that peripheral vision of looking the one way and passing it the way other players have done for decades. I can't hear you, man.
I'm on mute. That's me. I said he needs to develop that part of his game, but he won't unless he gets given more chances. And I don't think that's going to happen at Arsenal at the moment. It just doesn't seem like Arteta is seizing. He clearly sees Reiss as higher in the pecking order now than Smith Rowe. I think yesterday's performance from Reiss for me showed why actually he is above Smith Rowe in the pecking order personally, but that's just my perception of the game. I think that the best thing for Smith Rowe and for Arsenal is a sale of a significant amount of money. I'm taking my Arsenal hat off when I say that, because I just think for him personally, at 23 years of age, you need to be playing. And if you're not playing, there isn't much point staying at the club. And so he is a financial asset to Arsenal that if they get a very good fee for, you could see Aston Villa maybe coming in for him. Newcastle, I think, have been interested as well. Chelsea, we know, have had an interest previously, but they have Palmer now, so I don't think they'll come back. But Smith Rowe is a person that I see leaving in the next 2 years easily. And to be honest, whilst I'll regret that he didn't find that potential at Arsenal, I will understand why that situation developed the way that it did, not only because of the injuries that he suffered, but because I don't think he fits into Arteta's system either.
Right. He doesn't do the quick passes.
Yeah, but I think his best position, as you said, is like an archetypal number 10. And we don't play a 4-2-3-1 with a 10 anymore like we did with Ozil when he was there. And I think that he's a different type of player to Ozil, obviously, because he's more direct and he likes to drive at the opposition when he's got the ball and play the little triangles and things like that. So I just think we don't fit a Smith Rowe, and that's why it's not working. Now, I think there was a future for him on that left-hand side, but Martinelli's progression saw him rise above Smith Rowe, and I think actually now we do suit a more typical winger, inverted winger like Martinelli is. So, yeah, it's very hard. I'll finish the show with you, Tom, on Arteta. What are your expectations of him? And what I want to hear is kind of like what you think realistically, based upon what I believe to be was punching above our weight somewhat last season and surprising everybody. What then realistically should he be measured against for this season?
Well, number one, because I saw some talk this week on social media, I think he's got 18 months remaining. 100% he should be renewed. Because as you've mentioned, who are we going to get in? And I'm shocked actually.
I don't like that, Tom. Like I see why you said it. But I don't like when people say we should renew Arteta because there's no one else. Like that.
Okay, that's a fair point.
It's not a reason to renew a manager. Like you should renew a manager on their merit, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. If we're going to establish milestones as such, I think top four. I don't want to say top four is assured, but I'm fairly certain that we'll achieve top four. I think in Europe, I think we'll progress past Porto. And I don't know if anyone's ever said this, at least recently. I am actually more convinced. I think we have a better chance to win Europe than we have to win the league,
without question. Yeah.
And part of that is, and maybe I'll quick aside. The way we're playing right now, our possession-based football, I think, is much more appropriate for Europe, and I think we'll be more effective in Europe. And I know the topic for the entire show has been our finishing. I think in Europe, our players, I don't know what it is. I think people that have watched, say, for instance, the Ferguson teams, you watch the Ferguson teams that played in England, the Ferguson teams that played in Europe, they knew what to do. In Europe, you get to pounce. It's like a boxing match. You take, you deliver when it's appropriate. Whereas if you're in the league, you deliver, it's much more free flowing. So I think, yes, we're much more likely, man, and we'll all go bananas if we win Europe. I think in the league, top four, top three.
Yeah, top three, really.
Yes, I think
no one other than
sadly,
Liverpool and Man City should be finishing above us, really.
Right. Yes. If we allow, and we won't.
Or Spurs, no.
Yeah, because the idea that that anyone that brings Timo Werner back to England, because I grew up in Germany. My father was in the Air Force. I watched the German national team. You know, and you and I both watched the Red Bull teams. He's not a great finisher. He just isn't. In fact, Kai Havertz could look at him and go, "Well, at least I'm not as bad as you." And
you're not a fan. I think that's evident. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so. To your point, to say that there's no one better, I think Arteta's really got something. We've really got something going. I like the direction. Well, I liked last year without Europe. We were much more wide open. I often come back to the quote from Jock Stein, 1967. You know, obviously when Celtic won the final, and when they asked him why did you win the final, he said we played this. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was basically saying it was free flowing football. There wasn't a negative thought in our head, and I kind of wonder sometimes if Arteta directs our players to maintain possession sometimes, even though if you see an opportunity to maintain possession as a we're directing the game, we're maintaining the tempo, dictating this and that and the other thing. So I think in the league sometimes for me, if we say why aren't we scoring, man, I think sometimes our players see an opportunity but somehow have a voice in the back of their head saying not yet, not yet, not yet. And that is, you know, correlation isn't causation, but I think when I as a fan watch it sometimes, man, that's what I think is there are opportunities when someone can let it fly. And, you know, obviously Thomas Partey will let it fly from the halfway line. But there are some moments where it's just, oh, you know, we're all yelling for people to shoot. And then Declan Rice, he loves to shoot from distance, but he hasn't even I think he had one distance shot yesterday.
Yeah, straight at Alisson. Yeah.
Yes. And it was safely collected. So yes, Arteta is 100% the way forward. I think Arteta, I would even say even if we finish, God, heaven forbid, we finish 6th. I would still.
Oh, I don't know. I think if we finish 6th, there's some real conversations to be had about what is going on, because there is no. Because if you look at the table as it is, if Arsenal were to finish 6th, right, it would mean that Liverpool, Aston Villa, Man City, Spurs, and then one of West Ham, Brighton. I can't believe I'm going to say this next word. Manchester United would be finishing above us. And then I'm thinking, look, I have taken the absolute you-know-what out of Man United for how poor they are. Any of those teams finishing above us in the season, I'm sorry, mate, but then you can start having some questions about what on earth has happened. Now, I'm very confident that's not going to happen because I see what we're doing. And what we're doing is we're creating untold amount of chances that we're just not putting away. And I think that this is a bad spell. Man City went through one earlier this season as well that saw them drop into like 3rd, 4th in the league at one point because they won 2 out of 7 games. They've now managed to restore that form and look at what they're doing. They're going battering Huddersfield in the FA Cup. They know they've won games relatively comfortably recently. They've got a 2-0 win over Sheffield United, a 3-1 win over Everton. But prior to that, it was 2 wins, which was one very narrowly against Luton. And then, of course, they had that big win against Bournemouth. But they drew against Chelsea. They drew against Liverpool. They drew against Spurs. They lost to Villa. They drew against Crystal Palace. You know, they had a bad patch. But they still created loads of chances during those games, other than the Villa game, obviously. But what I think is that we're in a position where we are a goal or 2 away from rediscovering that confidence. I think the Crystal Palace game is massive. We have to win that, and I think we have to try and win that well. And if you win that well by taking your chance, I think suddenly something just clicks in your head again as a team, and you rediscover that form and fire. And I hope that we do that. But Tom, thanks for jumping on. I think is this the first time you've been on TGT, or have you been on before?
No, this is the very first time.
This is the very first time.
So thanks very much. Thanks very much. One quick question for you: does Bukayo Saka? Does he come on as a sub anytime in the next 3 months? Because it seems like he's carrying all the water, and even though he's young and capable,
we shouldn't sell him and buy Rafinha. Is that not what you?
No, the only way we sell him is if someone gives us a club, facilities and all. Yeah, that is
Give
ridiculous.
us a club, yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it is ridiculous sometimes when you do the math and people see if you offer 200 million, you can buy clubs rather than a
Yeah.
player. Yeah,
That's
you
the
can.
money we're playing with. Yeah.
So yeah, so
Declan
for
Rice half of Watford. Like that's
yeah,
what we're saying.
yeah, precisely so. So yeah, Bukayo Saka, no, especially as has been mentioned many times, Bukayo Saka at his current age, Mohamed Salah was still at Basel, and Bukayo has a tremendous ceiling. We're going to see a lot of great things coming from him. I think right now we're just relying on him too much. I think he is more tired than we are willing to accept, and also people are kicking him, and maybe he needs a rest, if not physically, but mentally. And I'll just finish it with this because I know you want to wrap it up. But I think if there's one thing I wish Arteta would do, and he's done it before, is to be a little more chaotic. Put Martinelli on the other side, you know, do something to confuse the defense, because Liverpool do that sometimes. And the defense, I think no matter how much they can rehearse and watch film, but if you do that, where you intersperse players, it's so confusing. And I think it is always in favor of the attack to do that, because the defense just doesn't know how to react, whereas the attack always does, because you've been doing that since you were a schoolboy. You know, you switch sides. If I've got the ball, I'm just looking for whoever cuts in. So I think if we put Bukayo occasionally on that side and Martinelli on the other side, I think we'll see some tremendous improvements. You know, it's just it's a mental thing. It's as simple as that. So thanks very much, Tom, for having me on. You've done a great job here.
Sure, mate. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
See you in a few months, man.
See you in a few months, mate. It's been a pleasure. Tom's an absolute legend. Met him obviously in London a few times and in Chicago as well. Good friend of our mutual friend, Mike Feinberg from the Goodness Pod as well, of course, you have to mention. Yeah, thank you to Tom, and thank you to all of our listeners and callers today. I will say, as you probably expecting me to say, that this was an opportunity for the critics to jump on and tell me why I'm wrong. Did they show up? Well, a couple did, but told me that Rafinha should replace Saka. So, you know, that's where we're kind of at with that side of things. But a lot didn't. And that's on you. Yeah, he didn't show up. I can't do anymore. What I will tell you is that Football Prizes remains a sponsor of the channel, of course, as well. And the Declan Rice prize sold out, which is great to see. We'll have a new prize to you to talk about tomorrow. So make sure you do that. But there is a link to Football Prizes down in the description. So make sure you go and check out the rest of their prizes that they've got going on over there. I also want to send my condolences and thoughts and well wishes to Sophie Nicolau, our good friend at the Hybrid Squad, who announced yesterday that very sadly her mother passed away. Sophie is an amazing person, and I've got all the love in the world for her and her family as well. And yeah, it was really hard to hear that news, and it does put into perspective. Just like Rob talking earlier about things going on in his family world as well, one of our callers, it does give you the perspective that Arsenal Football Club is a thing that we're very passionate about, we love, and we, you know, it's an amazing thing in our lives, and sometimes it brings us great happiness, sometimes it brings us great sadness, but it is only a part of your life, and there are things far more important than that going on. So yes, a massive thought. So please do go and send Sophie all the love in the world, because she needs it right now. And when she returns to action on the Hybrid Squad, make sure that you're sending her plenty of support as well. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow morning, probably not with a 2-hour-long show. And also look out for my interview with Reiss Nelson a little bit later on today as well on football.london. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate your time. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, up the Arsenal.